Not a lot of people are going to like what I did, and I understand why, and I never thought I'd ever do it. But I had the most fun I've ever had with a solo role playing game. Here's what I did. So first off, let me just say, over the years, as I've got older, I've kind of lost my imagination a little bit. I can't think up scenes and scenarios as well as I used to be able to. I can't tell stories the way I used to be able to. And I don't know whether it's a mixture of getting old and maybe some other things. I don't know. Maybe alcohol was a bit of a problem back in the day. I don't know. Maybe. But short story, yeah, I can't think up scenarios anymore. And I really, really love to tell stories, and I really love to play role playing games. And ultimately, I don't have a group, so it's solo role playing games. But I just find myself going through the motions, going through the mechanics, not really telling much of a story. So I kind of did something not a lot of people are going to be happy with, but I did have a lot of fun. And I'm going to tell you why this could be good for some people. ChatGPT. Yeah, I know. It's like, do not get involved with AI. Don't do it because it takes away jobs. And if it's even going to take away people's hobbies now, kind of where are we? Where are we as a society? But I tell you what, I had I had a lot of fun. Here's what I did. So initially, I set up an Iron Sworn Starforged game, and I won't go through everything, but I basically said, "You're going to be my here you go. Could you act as my GM for a game of Iron Sworn Starforged?" And it said, "Absolutely. I'd be thrilled to GM a game of Iron Sworn Starforged for you." And it goes for the kind of tone that you want: gritty survival, high adventure, mystery horror, and the sector, the character, gameplay style, and I answer those questions basically. So I would like the tone to be epic heroism. Can you provide a sector? Can you create a character? Well, can we create a character together? And I'd like a good mix of narrative, but using the rules as written, maybe 60-40 narrative. And then it kind of comes up with the sector and blah, blah, blah. We came up with a character as well. And I also used this with another app just so I could sort of track the character as well, because there's nothing here showing me what the character is. It's all in the AI's memory, I guess. So I can't keep asking, oh, what was my edge? So I did use this in conjunction with another app, and we've got a character summary, and then it comes up with a few possible paths that we could use. The path assets that we could use. I used a couple. I mean, there's a couple here that aren't in the game. Right, that's not in the game. Blade Bound. I think it's Blade. It's something else, isn't it? Blade Master, I think it is. So it's kind of taken the rules, but it's got a little bit confused somewhere along the line, and also it got confused with the roles as well, the actual mechanics. So yeah, once we've sort of built my character and everything, I then asked. I wanted fugitive. I wanted fugitive asset. So it kind of asked me who's hunting you. So I didn't know. So I said, actually, can you create? I like the idea of my ship being an old Iron vessel. As such, parts for repair are hard to come by, and I often have to cobble things together to get it working. My signature weapon is a chainsaw. I like to get up and close to my prey. Can you create a D20 table with options as to who or what are hunting me? My character is Kento Sun. My ship is called the Anvil. So it's this bit here, really. Can you create a D20 table? So it did, and then I rolled on this table, and I can't remember exactly what I rolled. I'm sure it'll say here, actually. I rolled option 7. Here we go. So option 7, the Gravemark Syndicate are those hunting me. So it then came up with a few. Oh yeah, well, I'm sort of jumping about all over the place here. I want to get to the other one that I started playing in a minute, or as quickly as I can. So yeah, we still with a bit more character. We're going with here, and then it's the stats. And in the end, I just sort of asked it to. Actually, I chose these. I said, yeah, my edge 2, heart 2, blah blah blah. You don't need to hear it all. My companion asset. I wanted a sidekick asset. Her name is Everly Wakeman. Her expertise is computer systems, hacking, that sort of thing. and it gives you a bit of a summary of then what you've got. And then we've got our opening scene, Echoes of the Dead. And so it sort of says we get a distress signal basically, and it says, what do you want to do? And I said I want to secure the ship just in case, just in case there's some danger here. And so it gives you a few options as well. So that's handy for a player like me, okay, because I have no imaginations. Because what do you want to do? I'm going to be like, go to the signal. And that doesn't necessarily make for an interesting story. It doesn't necessarily make for an interesting line of mechanical. I can't think of the right words, but it doesn't. It just makes it very robotic. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. If it gives me options, I can think, well, actually, I'll do this, but then I'll also do this afterwards, or at the same time, or and see how the AI handles that. So I said I want to secure the ship, so it gives you the secure an advantage. And this is where the mechanics were slightly wrong. So it said roll in 2d6 plus 2. You don't do that in Ironsworn or Ironsworn Starforged. You roll 1d6, you add your stat to it, and then you roll 2d10 and you compare it to the 2d10. And so a little bit further down the line, after I've done a few, I said, can you confirm the I can't remember where it is now. Can you confirm the dice rolling mechanics? And it said what it thought it was, and it said, no, I think I've got it wrong. This is what it should be. And I said, no, you've still got it wrong. This is what it should be. So it sort of clarified that. And then going forward, we got the dice rolls right, which was great. So here you go, dice rolling mechanic. The dice uses 2d6, two six-sided dice plus a relevant stat modifier. And it gave you, blah, 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 core mechanics overview. And I said, you have got the dice rolling mechanic wrong. Thanks for catching that. Let me clarify the correct dice rolling mechanic for Ironsworn Starforged. Correct dice rolling mechanic. You roll 1d20 plus, and straight away, no, you still got it wrong. This is still not correct. I roll 1d6 and add my stat. I also roll 2d10. If my d6 stat beats 1d10, that is a weak hit. If it beats both d10s, that is a strong hit. Thank you for correction. You're absolutely right about Ironsworn Starforged. So you do need to sort of train it a little bit. I also want to train it a little bit more with regards to how I want my game to play out. So although I've got the I can't remember the name now, the Grave Dark, whatever it was, the syndicate that were hunting me, I didn't want that to necessarily be the main theme of the game. They're hunting me, but I've got the fugitive asset, so they shouldn't really come into play until I fill that asset up, until I fill up that clock. If you know Ironsworn Starforged, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, I'm sorry. Try and explain it a little bit. So I'd need to sort of train it and say, look, can you not make the Grave Dark the main theme, the main enemy? Because I actually said I want another main enemy that I hunt. I'm a hunter of a particular monster, but also I don't want them to be necessarily the main thing either. They're the main antagonists, but I don't want it to be like every single scene involves this race. And I want it to be more like a TV show. So yes, they're going to crop up, but they're not going to be in it every single week, every single scene. They're not the main thing. And that plays out a little bit better with the other game I'm going to show you in a second. So I think I asked it to confirm momentum here as well. I asked it what my momentum was. And then I said, can you double check to make sure that that you've not missed any opportunities where I could have increased momentum? It said, oh, actually, yes, you're right. There was a point here where you should have had a momentum point and another one. Great, brilliant. So yeah, we've got on quite well. I like it. I mean, what I would probably do now really is I would now say, can we start this fresh with all the new learnings that we've got? I'd also like to make a couple of changes. Let me take you to the other game. I started a Doctor Who 2nd edition role-playing game. And what I like about this is I've always felt that Doctor Who is absolutely perfect for a solo role-playing game. And I can't believe it hasn't been made yet. You go to a Doctor Who role-playing game, what character do you want to be? Everyone puts their hands up and says, I want to be the Doctor. Everyone's going to say that, okay? You can only have one Doctor. I know you can have multi-Doctor, whatever, but essentially one person's the Doctor. So I always thought it'd be great for a solo role-playing game. So Can you be my games master in a game of Doctor Who role-playing game 2E? I can upload the core rulebook if needed. Absolutely, I'd be delighted to GM. It said it's familiar with the game, with the system, but I can upload it. I didn't decide to. A character setup. Who am I playing, essentially? The Doctor, a Time Lord, a companion, or a completely original character, so a unit scientist, an alien explorer, a Victorian inventor, whatever. It's given me a couple of ideas. We can create a character now, or do you have a pre-made character? And then it asks you for like the tone and themes. Should this feel like modern Doctor Who, or should it be more classic era Who? Should it lean towards mystery and investigation, horror and weird, action and unit, so on and so on. The setting would like to begin on Earth, past, present, future, an alien world, a space station, and so on. And I said, I'll be playing the Doctor, specifically the Seventh Doctor, as played by Sylvester McCoy. Those of you familiar with Doctor Who, the series got cancelled in 1989 with Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor. So I've said here, with the companion Ace was his companion, I want this to be classic Who style, but I will be imagining the game as if it is a continuation of the series from 1989, as if the series was never cancelled. So essentially, I'm doing season 27, as if the series was never cancelled and we continue. I want a mixture of tones, but lean towards a more mature style, as though the series was trying to capture an older audience at the time. I don't agree with this whole the Doctor never kills. Yes, he does, and yes, he has. He's been responsible for billions of deaths, and he hasn't always been remorseful for it. Check out your classic Who. I'm not an expert, by the way, but I know quite a lot. So I've also said I plan to play several sessions or episodes and intend to convert them into stories that I could publish as fan fiction. I'm probably not going to do that. That was just something that it's potentially a good idea, right? And then it says it comes up with episode 1, The Ashes of Midnight, and we start playing. So it's a 4-part serial. Each session is one episode, and that got me thinking a little bit more about, because in the classic Who, you had serials that would last multiple episodes. And so, you might have a 12-episode series, but one story would be 4 episodes. No, not like today, where you might get some 2-parters, but they're generally 1-part stories. So I missed a couple of things here, actually. How experienced is the Seventh Doctor? Would you like Ace to stay as she was in season 26? Any themes and mysteries you'd like to weave in for the long arc? I actually didn't read all this through, because I just went straight to asking, do you need me to upload my character sheet? I said, if you already have a character sheet prepared for the Seventh Doctor and possibly Ace, feel free to upload it. And then blah, blah, blah. I ended up saying, actually, could we create a character sheet together now? So it's told me what I need to do, distribute 24 points among the attributes, and then it's given me some It's given me some suggestions. So I just went ahead and said, use that spread of stats, okay? Because I'm only playing around at the moment, getting a feel for it. Use those stats. And then it's, attributes. And it tells me what they are. It's just kind of a summary, really, of what we've just discussed. And then the skills. I have 18 points to assign across these skills. And again, it's given me some suggestions. And again, because I'm lazy, I've just said, yes, use those stats. And then it just gives me a summary of what those stats are and why it feels they're good for the Seventh Doctor, which I thought was pretty cool. Next up, traits. And again, it's given me a load of traits. And I've just said, yes, use the list as provided, because I'm really lazy. And give me a summary of those. Bad traits as well. And then the equipment. I missed this. I didn't read this properly either, because it's got the sonic screwdriver there. And the Doctor lost his sonic screwdriver in the early 80s during his 5th incarnation. So the 7th incarnation didn't actually have a sonic screwdriver until the TV movie in 1996. Umbrella. I do know he had an umbrella, so I've used the umbrella in my roleplay. And the TARDIS will define next. I didn't read this, so I didn't really realise what it was doing. Story points as well. I'm not over familiar with this system, so I do know there are story points. I'm hoping the game's has got these correct. And it says, as a Time Lord protagonist, the 7th Doctor starts with 8 story points. Okay, again, I didn't read this at the time, and this bit here about the TARDIS, I didn't either. I just jumped ahead and said, just as an additional note, I'd like to play 4 total serials for this series with a total of 10 episodes. Break them down as you feel best, bearing in mind, I spelt mind wrong, bearing in mind the first serial is 4 episodes. Perfect. That gives us a clear structure to work with. Here's a proposed breakdown of your lost season of Doctor Who, continuing from survival. It knows the last episode was survival, as if the show had entered a more mature, darker 1990 season. Brilliant. Season 27. And it's given me a list here of the serials with names, and so all the other serials were just going to be 2 episodes, which I was a bit disappointed with, but maybe I could have been more specific and said, I want a serial that's 3 episodes as well, but, whatever. And then I thought of some other things. As another additional note, at some point during the series, Ace should leave the TARDIS. How that happens should be left to what happens in game, so I want that to happen sort of narratively. We don't decide now. I also want the 7th Doctor to die towards the end and regenerate into a new Doctor. I'll create a character sheet when this happens. So yeah, I like the idea of me having sort of one series as the 7th Doctor, and then I can go ahead and just create my own Doctor, my own character sheet, my own narrative style, characteristics. I kind of like the idea of doing that, but I did want to do this as a kind of, this is continuing on from 1989, as though the series was never cancelled, and it understands it. Brilliant. And then it's having a go at me again. The TARDIS. It wants me to, do this TARDIS thing again. It's reminded me because it said that up here, which I completely ignored. And yeah, the TARDIS. And then I've said, I want a quirky TARDIS. I also love scenes in the TARDIS, although they should be kept to a minimum. At least one scene in the TARDIS should appear in at least 6 of the episodes. I know that sounds very specific, but I don't want the TARDIS scenes in the TARDIS to never happen, but I don't want them to be every other scene either. So I kind of like, what's a good mix? Whatever. And then it's given me a sketch here, or a sketch out of what the TARDIS is. Quirky, labyrinth interior, semi-sentient, an ancient machine. Brilliant. And then okay, let's start. So episode 1, Ashes of Midnight. I won't go through everything that happens, but a couple of things I'm very impressed with. Ace called the Doctor Professor, which she did in the series. She was the only character, I think, really to call the Doctor something other than Doctor, and she was known for calling him Professor. So very impressed that it got that in there. And it says things, what do you do? So I'm like, so basically the cloister bell's going off. Don't know why. So I've just typed in, I click a few switches and buttons trying to steady the TARDIS. Can I find out what's going on? And then it gives me a role ingenuity and technology. And I've asked it to roll for me. Yes, you can roll for me. Again, I don't know if it's got the mechanics right because I'm not 100% familiar. I should look it up really, but I'm having fun. And it was a success. And then we go down, and I won't go through everything. We had quite a few successes. So here's a little bit more narrative. So we land, and Ace says, "This place gives me the creeps. Where do you want to start?" So it's kind of Ace, I guess, is doing the job of the games master here, asking me what I want to do. I grab my hat, throw it on my head, then snatch my umbrella from the stand. Come on, Ace, we've got work to do. Which was the last line he used in the 1989 series. I then step outside. What do I see? And it tells me what I see, blah, blah, blah. And we're playing. I've asked it to roll for me again. And then I've asked, can you remind me of the dice roll mechanic? And it's gone through it. Again, I haven't actually compared this to the rule book. I don't know if it's right. But I have said, could you make the difficulty a bit higher to prevent too many successes? I'll probably double check the mechanic with the game. If it ends up being a bit too easy, I could change that up. I could say, look, I want to use the mechanic from Iron Sworn Starforged. I could do something similar to what I'm doing with my Star Trek series and use the Star Trek, here I'd be using the Doctor Who role-playing game, but the mechanic and similar stats to Iron Sworn Starforged. I'm sure I can train the AI to do that. So here we go. So it now tells me, okay, below 12 is a failure, 12 to 14 is a partial success, and 15 plus is a full success. I'd probably want that to be a little bit higher again, I think. I don't know, maybe, and probably have partial success a little bit more elongated, if that's the right word to use. So then I said, that's good, where were we? And we carry on playing. And I won't. Okay, I'm not going to go through the entire story, but I was having a lot of fun and find some sort of cover. No, there's a little bit I want to get to. We'll pause for future invention. So yeah, there's a bit. We got to the end of the episode. Didn't last as long as I hoped, so made a couple of changes. So it says, would you like to continue right away with part 2 or pause here? We'll pause. For future adventures, can we ensure there are some NPCs? Because at the moment, there was nothing. I was talking to like some sentient being. Can we ensure there are some NPCs, both friend and foe? Also, I'd like to come across some classic Doctor Who monsters, maybe also some from New Who era, although I don't want this overdone. We'll see how that plays out. And then I said, now that we've ironed out a few things, could we start again from scratch? Same characters. I also want to add and change a couple of things. So it says, okay, we can carry on. What do you want to change? I don't want to adjust tone structure, but what I did say, I want 12 episodes. 2 serials should be 3 episodes long, 1 should be 2 episodes, and 1 should be 4 episodes. I also want each episode broken down into scenes. There should be 15 scenes per episode. I just want to give it a little bit more structure, and I want the episodes to last a little bit longer than that did, to be fair. Got it. 12 episodes total, structured as follows. And then it says, do you want to carry on with the Ashes of Midnight? I've said reset all titles and current storylines, and then we go again. So it does say, would you like to begin by naming all 4 serials and give each a rough premise, or jump right into scene 1, episode 1, and let the story unfold as we go? So I said unfold as we go, but give each serial a title. So it has. Not only did it give me a title, it did give me a brief premise as well, but I don't even know if it was a premise, actually. I didn't read it through fear of maybe some spoilers, but no, I mean, nothing really. But yeah, it's given me a few little things. I'm quite pleased with how this turned out. I must admit, I'm really pleased. So it's given me another serial. It's given me another adventure to play through, and it's scene 1 of 15. Now, it appears as though every time you enter a new location or every time you do a skill roll, that's a new scene. And I was thinking, again, that's going to be a bit too quick. But we played on. We played on. So you go, scene 3. Didn't seem to last long, these scenes at all, really. And I think I did get to the end of this scene. Okay, let me take a pause. Do we have a name for these? Oh yeah, there's during this adventure, I came across some mannequins. I really thought they were going to be an old classic Who monster. It turned out not to be. And right, here we go. For all future episodes, can we change the structure of the episode? Each episode should have 3 acts, each with 15 scenes. So that'd be 45 scenes overall. I want to see how that plays out. And again, I don't want episodes to be too quick. I don't want them to last 3 hours either. But yeah, it'd be nice to just kind of have a little bit more of a structure to them. I've kind of stolen this a little bit from the Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log, where I think it's 3 acts, but there's only sort of 5 or 6 scenes per act. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We did start episode 2 of the House of Masks, but because I'd made some more changes, I've put at the end here, can we start this completely fresh again in a new chat? I just wanted to do it in a completely fresh new chat, kind of start again. So I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And I know I'm going to get beaten up for using AI as my game master. It's not the done thing. But one thing I've learned about solo role-playing games is that there are no rules. It's my game, and I'll play it how I want. I may well decide to record these games and publish the stories, or even put them through a YouTube series. And I know a lot of people are going to hate on me for doing it the AI way. But for someone like me who has lost their imagination over the years, this can only help. This can only help me get that spark back. Give me new ways of thinking. Give me new ways of saying, okay, I can have options here. I don't just have to do the first thing that's come to my mind. Let me think about these various options that I can do in this situation. What would ChatGPT say? What options would it give me? okay, now let me think about this a bit better. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I have had the most fun, and I keep saying it, I've had the most fun I've had in solo role playing since I first started. I think there's a couple of years ago, I had a really, really good game of Ironborn Starforge that I thoroughly enjoyed. But I think it was more the novelty factor because it was something new for me. And again, I think I was probably just going through the motions and rolling dice rather than actually thinking about a story, thinking about character. This, whether people agree with me or not, is actually a really fun way to go. But I don't think it's a complete substitute for using your imagination. But for me, that's something I need to get back. The old grey needs to work harder, and I see this as a tool to help me do that. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, everybody. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you use AI? Do you use AI for one or two little things, world building, asking it to create tables for you? Or do you use it for the whole hog, being a games master? Take care, everybody. I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.